I Am Nature. It's a fairly new show on Revolution Radio, and I just switched from Fridays to Wednesdays, so I'm hoping I'm picking up some of my friends from Facebook, and I have an amazing guest with me this evening. He's an expert in the development of eco communities, because on I Am Nature, we're all about reconnecting to nature and dealing with enviro issues. This evening, we also have my producer, Angela Black. Can you chime in, Angela?
Hello, chiming.
And Michael, are you there? Are you with us?
Hello, yes, I hope I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yes, you're still there. And Michael's living over in Spain. He's up in a mountain gale right now, so we'll hope he can hang in for the 2 hours, weather pending. So, yeah, Angela's producing, but she wanted to, have the, access to Michael. She wanted to ask him questions, and I said, go for it. I mean, it's not often we have anyone with his level of qualification on eco village development on this program or on this network. So, Michael, I wanted to ask you, just give us a bit of an autobiographical background on yourself, some of the big hits throughout your life.
Well, I'm not one for talking about myself too much, really.
It's difficult. You're a very modest guy.
Ego and all that sort of thing. Anyway.
Well, where did you go to school, Michael? Where did you go to school?
Oh, it was in the UK, in Croydon, South London, before it was South London even. 10 miles south of London in those days in the 1930s. We had a farm where you could buy milk locally. Now it's all concrete jungle, completely changed. I could go and pick wild strawberries in the bird sanctuary only a mile or two away from me. Now it's a concrete jungle. Everything's completely changed there. But I grew up in Croydon, in Surrey, South London, and then later on, after marrying and living in what is now called East Anglia, the eastern part of the UK, grew up with having the wonderful opportunity of 3 children, 3 sons who are now fully grown up as well. I decided when they were reaching a certain age in their teens, it was a time to explore in practice community living. So I, to cut a long story short, was instrumental in founding a community of people. It was an intentional community with an agricultural focus, and organic, of course, because I had eaten organic food all my life, and I was very keen to develop both the organic growing on a larger scale, but also my love of community all my life has meant that it was an opportunity to translate theories and ideas into a community, and we numbered about 12 families, about 38 people in total, including some children of all different age range. And I lived there for about 30 years. Now,
wow.
It went on and grew and grew and grew. We have rare breed animals, and we produced our own milk and our own meat and our own eggs and our own, well, potatoes, everything you can grow in polytunnels and on the land in organic style.
Wow. So it was like a big happy family, really. It wasn't that big a community in terms of numbers.
Yeah. Well, it was about, as I say, about 38 people in all, with some children.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's it. So 30 years. Did you give this community a name?
Yes, you can find it on the internet. It's Old Hall Community, Old OLD HALL, because it once was a Franciscan friary, and we bought the land and this rambling old building, and it needed a lot of work done on it. And we shared our skills. We learned how to do bricklaying, electric wiring. We did it all ourselves. we were very independent-minded. We didn't call in, well, we hadn't got lots of money to spend. We just about managed to buy the place and the land, and we had to do everything ourselves, and we were very happy and very inspired by the challenges that it produced. And they were the halcyon days. There were shakedowns, of course, as people learned to live together, because none of us had come together before to live together to that degree of living. And we developed very, what I think are very key, germane ways to live by as a community as a result of that. And it was a very rich experience for the whole of my 30 years of my life.
So what age were you then, like 20 to 50, something like that?
No, I was 40 then. You know, life begins at 40, and thought, wow, that's it. Let's start a community.
Oh, okay.
I've always been a bit of a revolutionary, you see.
Well, that's
there's
excellent.
hope for me. There's hope for me. I have a quick question. Oh, you were mentioning rare animals, that you have rare animal breeds there, and I was just very curious as to what types of rare animal breeds those were.
Well, for example, like the Tamworth sow, the Tamworth pig is a lovely orange-coloured pig, known as a rare breed animal, and we had Jersey and Guernsey cattle, so we had delicious creamy milk and all naturally produced, and made our own cheeses. I learnt cheese making, hard cheese making, but my love of all was planting and developing an orchard of fruit trees, where we had, again, at the time that the EU, the European Union, was beginning to impose its regulations that all apples should be either red or green. A lot of the rare breeds of or types of apples and plums and pears were being dug up out of orchards by a lot of people at that time, commercially. And we saw it as an opportunity to keep these rare examples of traditional breeds of not only animals but also of fruit trees alive for the future. And that orchard is still going strong now.
And just for the listeners, can we get a sense of what this community kind of looked like, how big it was, you know, that kind of stuff? How many acres you had, what sort of buildings you were living in, that sort of stuff, Michael?
Right, it's about 65 acres, and it was one large building, formerly a manor house of a village, dating back to the 1700s, which caused us a lot of problems because it was what's called in the UK, it's called a listed building, which means there's certain things you can't do to it because it's specially classified as a historic relic. And having been used by Franciscan friars and previous to that Benedictine nuns, it was all divided up into little cells and very monastic, complete with chapel, and all these challenges. It was a great, great experience to develop it in the way we wanted to develop it. But certain key things we still, to this day, I say we because although I'm not there any longer, we still eat in the refectory, as it's known, where the Franciscan friars used to eat before. But that's part of the importance of building a strong community, in my humble opinion, is that people eat together, they grow their food together, and they eat together. We each had our own private pieces of accommodation, so we didn't share our lives down to the intimate levels of going to bed with each other, but nevertheless, other communities do differently, and they're there for different reasons, but that's what we chose to be and do.
So the community. So this was like a residence. Like, so everybody had their own room, but there were certain common areas, like the kitchen.
That's right.
And the dining room.
That's right. And now the chapel has been completely refurbished and changed into an arts centre. And we still have theatre plays and music events there, and art exhibitions. Oh, it was a big undertaking, and it's taken years to develop thus far.
Right. So,
but at the same time, I've all along. I've been strongly connected with the Findhorn community in Scotland, which predates the one that I began. The one that I began isn't exactly on the same lines as Findhorn, but it has certain similarities to it. Some of your listeners may be conversant with Findhorn, I don't know. It's an international eco-village network community in Scotland.
Yes, it's it's been mentioned on every show I've had, and this is my fourth show. I'm glad it came up again. I have to go there. I mean, I'm so impressed with this place. My guest last week, John Apley, said it has the best food in the world. He's tested the food from various indigenous cultures and from very, very clean, almost untouched areas of the planet. And Findhorn ranks up there with some of the best food and water. Water's even more important, actually, for health and longevity. So, no, I don't know if you know John Apsley. You listened to my show last week. But, yeah, his visit to Findhorn is what created his interest in rejuvenative medicine and his studies.
Mm. Mm. Well, I have a privilege of being a Findhorn representative out here in Spain. I have never lived at Findhorn, although I've gone there on many occasions, many times, and done experience weeks there, living in guest accommodation. There are opportunities to stay at Findhorn, and I'd recommend to anyone that they began with going for an experience week to see what Findhorn is like, how it ticks over, get to know the intimate details in a very innocent, friendly, happy week experience.
Yeah, they offer a lot of courses there on how to set up eco-communities, all sorts of healing courses. They obviously are generating the revenues to support themselves through all these activities, which is awesome.
Yes. Well, the Global Eco Village Network has been going 20 years now, and I would like to put in a little note about that, because the Gen Plus 20 Summit is to be held this year at Findhorn from the 5th to the 10th of July. That's 20 years of the Global Environmental Network.
That is amazing. I mean, I am so dumb. I've been thinking about doing something similar, and then I discover this huge network already in existence. I mean, I'm so impressed, though. It saved me a lot of time and effort. I mean, I'm so happy that it already exists.
The Global Village Network now numbers some 10,000 villages, communities, urban organizations, neighborhoods, and intentional communities. Some 10,000 worldwide.
Yeah, no, there's a map there on the site. If you people are interested, to go to Findhorn and just punch in Findhorn, Findhorn, and everything you want to know about it is right there. They have a beautiful website. And then Jen is Global Eco Community Network. Throw that in your browser, and you will get to that site too. That's another amazing site. I guess Findhorn came first, and then Jen came second.
Yes. Findhorn actually began in 1962, and I was privileged to go to the 50th anniversary celebrations in 2012. So that's quite a long-established community now. But there are communities that are older than Findhorn even. You've got in the U.S. area, you've got Twin Oaks and Walden too that are communities older than Findhorn, I believe. They began very much out of B.F. Skinner's works on behavioral sciences.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of interesting, because I wouldn't have thought they would have lent themselves to doing that, because, a lot of people have issues with what B.F. Skinner was doing with his own children.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so I find that kind of fascinating. But what was I going to ask you? But your community, now the one you were in, I forget the name of it. What was the name of it, your community that's still there?
Old Hall, 2 words, OLDHALL.
And
Yeah, I put the website in the Skype chat, and I also put it in the Revolution Radio chat.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, it's
and again,
oldhall.org.
it's one of those places where you can visit by experience as a woofer. Do you know the WOOF organization? Willing Workers on Organic
I've done
Farms.
some of that. I've done some woofing.
You can go and stay at Old Hall Community as a woofer if you ask to go there.
And maybe you can explain to the listener what a woofer is.
Well, it isn't somebody who goes barking like a dog. No, not like that, Brian. It's willing workers or worldwide workers on organic farms. It's a massive organization. You can join for a very small sum of money, and you can get a listing of organic farms to go and stay on, and it often involves communities are rated as organic farms. So if you apply to an organic farm that you find is likely to be on your travels somewhere to stay, a lot of people do this throughout Europe. Out here in Spain, I've had people from the Czech Republic, from Eastern Germany, or what was formerly Eastern Germany, France, Italy. There's an Italian girl staying here at the moment. We get people, it's a whole network of people who share their skills and learn from the experience, and in return for a week's work, well, what is work really? It's enjoyment of working with the land and growing food. In return for that, they should have free accommodation and all their meals provided.
I am so
and
in.
A good social environment.
I'm so in. I just looked it up. It's WWOOF, and it's wolf.net, WWOOF. I'm so in. I'm going to totally do this.
Okay, good. Hope to see you come over here then.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like a great way to have a vacation. A really inexpensive one.
Yes, it is. And a lot of young people, particularly ex-uni people, I've had people who've done university courses on environmental sciences, and they've thoroughly enjoyed coming out here because they're able to translate what they've learnt from the university now into a real-world situation. Because often in universities, the practical everyday things are not appreciated, they're not valued, they're not taught. It's a university syllabus, but it's not, you still have to move into the practical of living the truth of what it's like to, in all weathers, dig or cultivate soil or prune trees.
Michael, at Old Hall Community, were you close to the city, or were you kind of a bit in the outskirts?
Oh, it's about 65 miles, what's that, about just over 110 kilometres from London, from central London. But there's a good train service from London.
So there weren't a lot of people living around you guys. You were pretty much, on your own.
Oh, yes. In fact, it's a lovely countryside there. It's a lot of artists there. It's a low-lying part of England. Get a lot of Dutch visitors coming over because they find it easy because it's all lovely and flat like Holland. So they cycle over to East Anglia, come on the boat and come over. So it's a very popular resort for Dutch people venturing abroad.
Wow, sounds great. I was just curious as to how many children would visit a place like Old Hall or Findhorn, just to learn about this alternative lifestyle.
Well, yes, Findhorn has specialised in it. Old Hall does not tend to. No, I won't give reasons. I'll let people discover it for themselves. But Findhorn does encourage children, young people, teenagers, to do it. But I'd say to teenagers, when they get to about 16, 17, 18, or want to travel on their own, the woofing organisation is a very good way of exploring, because it can be done cheaply.
Oh, and that's what students want. They want cheap travel.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And you get to know the people. You meet the real people. and the community. And I mean, I just can't think of a better way to get around. I'll have to mention it to my kids too. I didn't realize it was that well organized. I just in Ottawa there, one year I went nuts and helped set up 3 community gardens, and I did some woofing at an organic farm. He was raising sheep, and he was making I was getting raw milk from this chap, and I helped put in a garden for him, and that was quite a chore because he really didn't have any decent soil out there. But, yeah, it was kind of fun. I really enjoyed it, and he was quite a character.
As far as my own sons are concerned, who grew up there in the community, because when the community began, their ages were 11, just under 10, and 8. They grew up with me there in the community. And to this day, it's been the best experience of their lives. They would still say that. It was the most wonderful place to grow up, where there is an extended family. All the people, all the other adults cared enough to be kind of uncles or aunts, sharing their life together in a safe environment.
Wow, I mean, yeah, no, it's...
I think it's what's led to my 3 sons being particularly... leaning in the arts world. One is a mime artist and magician, another one is a musician, professional musician, and another one is a puppeteer.
Wow.
So they've all experienced life and had the room and the space to explore life, which I think so many youngsters don't get these days.
Wow, I'm sorry. You just blew me away. My 3 sons, their professions are a mime, a musician, and a puppeteer. That is crazy awesome. That is just awesome. I've been trying to keep muted, but that one deserved a little chime in there. Oh, my goodness. I mean, my son is, he is a musician, budding musician, actually, and I encourage that highly. But that is so cool. I'm sorry, that is so cool.
Well, if it hadn't have been for the community and the space that they had to experiment in, and the freedom to be who they wanted to be and how they wanted to develop without parents bearing down on them all the time, perhaps I was such a rebellious parent myself that they didn't know what to rebel against. They became more conformist now, but they enjoyed their work anyway. Anyway, yeah.
Well, it sounds to me, though, it was an environment where they were exposed to the arts, right? You said you had shows there. I'm sure some of the people living there were very artistic. Is that not the case?
Yes, it is very much the case. And I think for any group of people who want to begin to come together, to share their lives together in a community way, however it turns up for them, I would say that one of the most important things is to establish celebration and traditions and the arts in the group. It's a very important aspect of community living. When I traveled before the start of the community, you see, I went traveling to a number of other communities, and I well remember going to Arcosanti near Phoenix, Arizona, and I met Paolo Solari there, the architect of Arcosanti. Beautiful community building structures in the desert in Arizona. And I said to Paolo Solari, he'd just come back from Hungary at that time, where that was his native country, and I said to him, what makes this community tick? You know, what is it? What is your instrument? How do you play it? He said, my friend, he said, I make the instrument, they play the tune. He wouldn't be drawn on it. Indeed, it was a great experience to be staying there, because I experienced a Midsummer Night's Dream, a Shakespearean Midsummer Night's Dream in a dry Arizona desert, which I wouldn't have done if I hadn't traveled there.
Well, this sounds like a great community, too. Is it still in existence, Michael?
Yes, it is. Yes. Look at Arcosanti, ARCOSANTI. Arcosanti.
Arcosanti probably has its own site. Maybe Angela can...
Oh, yes, it does. I know it does.
In Arizona.
Yes.
Is it near Sedona?
near Phoenix.
Closer to Phoenix, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Is it part of the Gen network?
Pass. I can't answer that one for sure.
Oh, okay. You're not sure.
They're very arts orientated. They create beautiful bells and have a lot of performance events there.
Yeah, and that's one of the ways that they support their community.
Yes,
by offering that. Would it be about the same size as Old Hall, or would it be a bigger community?
No, it's bigger. It's bigger.
It's about 7,000 volunteers built the project in 1970, it looks like. Is that the one? Same one? Yeah, Paolo Soleri's theory of compact city design. It's arcosanti.org. You can find it there. And, yeah, very interesting stuff.
Oh, going on a break, folks. Welcome back to I Am Nature, the show that explores eco-village development and other issues related to solving our environment problems on this planet. I'm a firm believer that every issue we face has a solution, and we must soldier on and never give up. And I've got a great advocate of my point of view, I believe, on the show right now in Michael Baker, community developer par excellence. And Michael, are you back with us?
Hello, I hope so.
All right, you're back. And Angela?
Oh. Yes, I'm here. No, I'm here.
Okay.
I just muted. I'm so happy to be
Brian, I don't know about soldiering on. I'm a peace activist, not a soldier.
Piecing on. All right.
Piecing on, yes.
Okay, good stuff. Now, there really weren't a lot of blueprints for you when you developed the Old Hall community. Can you kind of summarize what were the stages for you to develop this amazing intentional community?
Yes, I suppose really it falls around finding the right kind of people, who are willing and open to an experience which is a change in their lives. They're looking for something fresh. Now remember that when I did this was way back in the 70s, 72, 73. It didn't actually physically start until the spring of 74. At that time, there was still a lot of movement from the 60s in Europe, in the UK particularly, flower power, stopping the world, I want to get off, and so on and so forth. There was a lot of rebellion which was emerging, and it's emerging again now in the present day. I could go into that separately because we've got big changes occurring in Europe, first of all with Greece, and soon it will be with Spain. But we'll leave that on one side now. There's a spirit in people who want to feel that they're in charge of their lives. They want to feel that they're empowered and listened to when decision making is made. So defining a community has to be teased out very carefully with the people who are interested in joining and coming together and formulating some kind of socio-political or whatever belief system which has a code of behavior, a code of conduct, of morals as well, and to make sure that these beliefs are clear and understood and agreed to by everyone. It might, for example, be a community where everybody agrees they want to be vegetarian only. Actually, in our community, we weren't vegetarian only, and it included vegetarians at the start, and that was one of the shakedowns 2 years on from the start, that the vegetarian members of the community decided to leave because they didn't want to share the kitchen with those who cook meat. So all these teasing, pardon me, all these teething problems have to be sorted out, but sorted out with the people who are actually there, living there and experiencing it.
Well, exactly. Now, back then, the internet wasn't even formed, I don't believe.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know people, and I've certainly made efforts. I know people who can't find the right people to set up an intentional community. How on earth did you manage to find so many great people?
You have to fish carefully. You have to put the right bait out in the right magazines and newspapers and articles, and it'll attract the people. In some ways, if you've got a vision, if you manifest it and keep concentrating on it with a positivity that there'll be a good outcome, it will happen. It just will happen. You've got to trust, but it will happen, and it did happen. And I would say that every time. Just trust. And if the will is there, and if the positivity is there, and the passion for it is there as well, that it's not just another thing to do or to prove or to be, that there's real life and real meaning to it, then I think people will come.
Well, I mean, yeah, it sounds to me like you were quite determined, and that's quite. I'm quite impressed with that. Now, but how long? Like, how much groundwork did you have to do before you actually purchased the property, had the building, started working? Like, how much prep time was involved in that?
Well, it must have been a good year and a half. It was, yes, from late 72, early 73 through to the spring of 74. Yeah.
So you had lots of meetings with people, probably dinners and all that kind of stuff to get people, try to create some sort of consensus on what you wanted to create together.
Yes, and do you know, a little story about that makes me laugh, actually, because a lot of it took place in the house where I was living. Called people in, and people would come for weekends and discuss and chew it over and share together. And it was at a time in my life when I used to make a lot of homemade wine. And I don't know if listeners know what a demijohn is, but it's a very large jar of wine, homemade wine, called a demijohn. It holds several gallons, probably about 25 litres. Anyway, I had about 41 of these filled at the start of the beginning of these weekends together. And all 41 had gone by the time we started the community. So it was founded on homemade wine, I reckon.
Yes. Now I know what you use for bait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, incredible. Well, I mean, because I want people to know. I mean, what are the steps? I mean, it's, you put something up on Facebook. I have a friend who's got something going now for a couple of years. He wants to, similar to what you were saying. I mean, there are people who are very passionate about the way they eat because they see the connection between their food and the world and the environment. And the vegan community has really taken off in the last 10 years. I don't know if it's taken off in Europe, but it's certainly big here in North America. Yeah. So he wants to set up a vegan community. And, I mean, I don't know. Are there any vegan communities, intentional communities, eco-villages that you're aware of in existence on the planet?
I can't name one offhand, but I strongly suspect there are. In fact, there's a lady that I know. She came and woofed here. She's in the Appalachian Mountains in the USA. And I know she's a vegan, and I'm on her on Facebook. She may know the answer to that, and I'll let you know if you're interested to know as a follow-up to this program.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because my friend Terry, he's been on, he was on when Raul was on, Raul Alvarez. I'm sure you know Raul. You were in his movie. You're one of his actors. A real actor.
Yeah.
And but I want to ask you a question about that later. But one thing Raul insisted that I ask you about, and I certainly think it's an important question to ask you.
Oh, he set me up, has he?
Well,
okay.
It's not a tough question, but I want. He told me one of the things that impressed him about you is that you were one of the lead problem solvers, kind of like an elder within the community. Is that true?
Yes, it is. To some extent, I suppose I would admit to that. part of my experiences at Findhorn had been to be trained at the Holy Earth Foundation in the USA. Well, I didn't actually go to it, but representatives from the Holy Earth Foundation came over to Findhorn to teach conflict resolution. You see, Findhorn is a good example of how to live together, making decisions together that are in agreement with each person, finding a solution together that they feel in harmony with everybody else in the group. There are ways to do this, and there are ways not to do it. The present day wider scene of democracy is a good example of ways not to do it. But we won't go into that now. But the ways to actually formulate agreements between people is all important. This is why working through Facebook to get to know people, I would strongly say the next stage is do meet up, do spend time together, have a week's camp together somewhere where you get to know the edges of people that might be, the touching the short fuse that might explode, for example. But it's more than actually finding ways to make decisions together. It's where inevitably at some times in the life of community there are always conflicts that need very careful adjustment by resolving it through third parties, helping the process through, so that the idea that a problem to this person or that person can be settled gently and understood. And it takes time. And that's one of the things that in our society today, everybody is speeded up so much since I was a kid, and even since the 70s. Everything is want it now, it's immediate. But these things take time to settle, to be understood, to be worked at. I mean, joining or forming a community is like, in a sense, it's at an emotional level, like a marriage. Okay, you're not going to bed necessarily with everybody else in the community, but I don't mean it from a sexual level, but it's a living together in a way that where you need to understand the emotional levels of other people and the good times and the bad times, or when the full moon is there, when it's not, for example. Because it's remarkable that actually that synchronicity, within a very short space of time of forming a community, all the women's monthly periods came in together. They came in locked in together. They were all having the same time of the month together. Well, and that wasn't organized, but it just shows the chemistry of the body is in a group of people can be very powerful if we want it to work.
Well, I believe in energy sharing. I believe that it's one of the least exploited resources on the planet, is that we've forgotten how to share our energy person to person. And that a place like where you were living in Findhorn is the ideal way to learn how to use that energy to the benefit of humanity.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, we can project love, we can project kindness, we can project understanding. All these positive emotions can be felt, and they can help heal people. They can help people resolve issues. And, like I say, it's being in that kind of womb of love and caring that helps people mature and become and work through their issues.
When somebody feels hurt or upset or confrontative, to look them gently in the eye, I mean gently in the eye, and say, what are you really saying? And allow for the silence as well. Silence is golden. Silence is vitally important in community decision-making, to really listen to other people.
Well, there's something magic in the number you had, too, because I know a person who was living in an intentional community in Canada, not far from where I used to live in Ottawa, and there was only 5 couples in this community. And one of the couples, actually it was her and the founder, they broke up, and it ended the community. So do you think there's a certain sustainable number of people that you need within a community to get it through something like a divorce or a breakup in a relationship?
an optimum number of people to communicate well together is probably between the numbers of 12 and 24. Because beyond about 24 to 30, it gets increasingly difficult to communicate intentions together and to have people all assembled at the same time. And there are different levels of decision making as well, because in our community there were chicken groups, there were cow group, and so on and so forth. And that was important because the main decision making was once a week, and it still is once a week, every Friday. But not everybody at the Friday meeting wants to hear when the cow's being artificially inseminated and so on and so forth. So there are some decisions that can be made at a level of those who are most interested in rearing cows in the group. So the larger the group, the more it's important to layer off the decision making between the ones that affect everybody in the community, the important ones, and the ones that are more specializing, but not excluding people. If they want to attend, they can attend. That was always a known fact. So how you set up the decision-making structure in the community needs to be carefully thought about and can be allowed to evolve as well as a community grows in its experience, the experience of living together.
Yeah, it sounds like, though, you tried to use a consensus model where that, from my understanding of consensus is that unless everyone agrees on an action within the community, that it doesn't happen. Is that the decision-making model you used, or did you use something different?
No, that is it, basically. And I fully admit that it can be frustrating. But if there is a greater reason that you don't necessarily understand at the time of all the head work that's being done between people, chatter, and egos can creep in and all sorts of things like that can cause deflection of the energy in different directions. If it's not meant to happen, or if it's meant to happen after 6 months of talking about it or whatever, that's the way it should be. And yes, sure, it can be frustrating for some people. It's been frustrating for me, I admit, at times.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a time laborious practice. I mean, I was in a permaculture group of about 50 people, and it took a lot of discussion. But you know what? You become better at speaking. And you develop all sorts of communication skills that you would not have otherwise developed. You develop the ability to relate to other people's point of view and ways of seeing things that you may not have never thought of yourself. So it expands your consciousness.
Absolutely.
It's just incredible. And I'm so impressed that you did this for so long, because I've never met anyone who lived for so long in one of these intentional communities.
Well, yes, it's, as I say, it's not without its frustrations, but you learn from it, and what's meant to be will be, and what's not won't be, and you have to respect that.
Yeah. So did you have to deal with marriage breakup and things like that? Were those sorts of issues the kinds of things that you were dealing with?
There was only one that I was involved with, which was of that nature. Most of them were other types of dispute, but the marriage one actually was very, very supportive. There were people in the community who were able to support both parties who were breaking up. And what was even more important was that the children of the couple were fully supported by the community in all kinds of ways to make it happen with the least detrimental effect to children.
Beautiful.
I think one of the things that we've often recognized in the UK is the number of people who want to join communities are at some kind of crossroads in their life, excuse me, crossroads in their life, either with a marriage breakup or they're single parents or whatever. And it's very, it's very beneficial to a single person. I became a single parent family at that time, so I benefited from it undoubtedly. But yeah, it's a good support facility if people are in tune with each other.
Exactly, but it sounds a lot better than the family court system we're using. I mean, honest to God, there couldn't be anything worse devised to help people get through a divorce. It's just an industry. I mean, it's just, it's so painful and ridiculously confrontative. So, you know, everything sounds like it worked a lot better for the average person or the person involved in the community. I mean, in terms of your personal development, in terms of your exposure to different types of people with different interests, and people who are exploring themselves.
Well, I would always support wholeheartedly any desire of anyone to create or join a community. It's the way ahead. It's the way to live. It definitely is the way to live.
Yeah. No, I think we've got to develop. I don't think there's any limit to how many types of these communities you can have. I think, like you say, you've got to. The key is, and this is the thing, there's so many different types of people on this planet, and we try to stick them into one system, and we wonder why there's so many unhappy people. I mean, there's room for hundreds of thousands of different permutations and combinations of intentional communities, eco-villages, and each one of them can create their own theme or a variety of themes. I think this is the way that we have to slowly evolve back towards. It's obviously not going to happen in a generation, but I can see us, you know, maybe in 100 years, half the population of the planet, if we, you know, we get through some of these major eco issues, could be living in these sorts of communities. Do you agree with me, or do you think that's I'm a bit pie in the sky in that prediction?
I'd give it more urgency than that, Brian, quite frankly. I think we're on a precipice as a human race. You mentioned at the start of the program about being nature. I strongly feel, very strongly feel, and I'm committed to work in this respect, education-wise myself, that unless we move as a human species from our anthropocentric view of nature to one in which we cohabit with nature in a different way, unless we do that, we're on a precipice for our own extinction.
Well, no, I totally agree. I sort of prefaced my remark with, in the event that we get beyond these major challenges like geoengineering, radiation leaks, GMO, all this stuff that's coming at us, but in the event we get beyond this challenge, these challenges, I'm saying I see the future could be the development of many more of these intentional eco-village type communities.
Oh, okay. Yes, I agree with you. Yes. But you, what made me sort of step back from what you said was the point of.
I think we'll pick it up after the break, Mike. Michael.
Okay. Okay.
For this challenge, 12, 16 hours a day, trying to bring together the activists that are out there, because I mean the dark side is running like a Swiss watch, and the activism is scattered and poorly organized. And I think this is a key organizational change that has to happen for us to get over this this challenge of reeling in these people who are really doing a number on the planet. And I don't know how you see it, Michael, but do you see it as a personal responsibility to change one's lifestyle, or do you think it's more important to get involved in a big active or big political change, such as joining a movement to get rid of GMO or to fight against nuclear power or geoengineering? Which aspect of activism do you think is most important right now?
Well, it's a bit of both, really. I mean, in the sense that you've got to be the change, you've got to live the truth, And I think, can I say, before I come back to that, maybe you'll need to prompt me in a minute.
Sure.
But can I say that I'd like your listeners in Canada to be aware that there's a lot of awareness throughout Europe and in the UK. There's a lot of awareness about an apprehension about the TTIP, the Transatlantic Agreement on Tariffs and Trades. There's a lot of awareness about the Keystone Pipeline. There's a lot of awareness about the Gulf oil spill. There's a lot of awareness about all those dangerous things that are going on. There is a whole movement of people that are waking up to it, and boy, are they waking up to it. And apart from that, if anybody wants, I don't know if over there you've heard of Russell Brand, if anybody wants a bit of inspiration from Russell Brand, he's a comedian who's turned to talking about these things very directly and having quite an influence on a lot of people. So why I'm saying this is I want people in Canada to understand that there is a big movement for change. It may not be apparent through mainstream media because the mainstream media tends to suppress it or deny that it exists altogether. But there is a big movement for change.
Just so you know, Michael, it's not just Canada. We are also broadcasting from the USA, so it's more or less the North American continent, I think, that you're addressing.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Happy to say we're all over the place. So this is a great show, by the way. I'm very thrilled to. I'm just learning so much. So please do carry on.
It's great. I mean, European society, I always see, is about 10 years ahead of North America. I mean, you've got such a wide variety of media outlets there that are much more progressive. You've got political systems where there's like 10. How many parties are there in Spain? I know, like in Italy, there's like 11 political parties, all spouting different points of view on issues. I mean, how many are there in Spain, Michael?
Well, there's about 4 main ones in Spain. Well, 2 main ones and 2 subsidiary ones. But what has emerged in the last year is an entirely new party called Podemos, Podemos, which has become a mirror of what's happened in Greece, where ordinary people have formed up an alliance between thinking of other parties that they previously supported and want change because they see that this whole money thing is an illusion, and that, for example, the EU has just agreed to print more money. And, well, it's as simple as that. If you need money, you print more money. Why go through all this quantitative easing and all this other rubbish? And there are plenty of people very outspoken about it. As I say, try Russell Brand for a start.
Well, you know what? I'd love to get him on my show. I've been trying to reach him. Is there any? Do you have any connections, or does someone at Finhorn know him? Does he go there to perform?
I don't personally know how to connect with him. No.
Yeah, because
only through True's news service.
Yeah, no, he's quite a genius because he's getting a lot of attention. So he's using the mainstream because he's a funny guy and people like comedians, but he's also getting out an incredibly important message about about the importance to not sever ourselves from nature, and that there's a lot of things wrong with our political systems. And I'm not sure if he's got a clear alternative yet, but I mean, he's certainly touching a lot of the right chords in the collective consciousness, and I'm very impressed with Russell, and I'll continue to try to hunt him down and get him on my show because I think he's going to like I Am Nature and my approach to natural government and things of that sort. So let's drop back a bit from this political discussion, which is I want to get back into later, but I want to find out. My friend Raul again. You were in his movie Land Awakening, and I'm sure you were quite impressed with that movie. I certainly was.
Yes. I'm looking forward to the follow-up.
Yeah, being nature. Yeah. So in what capacity were you in that movie? He had quite a few guests in it. What were you talking about in the movie?
Well, principally, I was talking about community and about, again, about working with the land and understanding the land, understanding the soil, and understanding how all living organisms are connected. Plus a few of my experiences from early years, when I first saw my own nature spirit when I was about 3.5 years old.
Yeah, I saw them too.
Of my family.
Yeah, I saw them too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it was about being in touch, getting back in touch with the land and the nature of Earth, the spirit of the land, is so important for us all.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was asking everyone what does the land mean to you? I remember that part of the movie. So you were in that part of the movie. Very important question to answer for yourself. I mean, what does the land mean to you? And it was just, the answers were incredible. So you were one of those people. I thought that maybe you were one of the ones talking about in detail the different types of natural agricultural systems. But I guess that wasn't your role in the movie. You also mentioned to me when we were chatting before the show that you traveled to Mexico and you met some very interesting people living in an eco community. Or were the Aboriginal people Mayans?
No, I think slightly mixed up there. I got to know Alberto Ruz very well, who is one of the founding members of the Huya community. That's HUACOTL community, which is about a few kilometers southwest of Mexico City.
Okay, so it's in Mexico. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I got that part right.
I hope you get him. I hope you get him to speak on the radio, because he's an absolutely wonderful example of a peace activist and an environmental wake-up person.
Well, you have to give me his coordinates.
Yes, I have. Yes, I promise that. Yes, I have already promised you that and haven't fulfilled it yet. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But no, it's so.
No, but also I spent a lot of time over the years. Since 1987, I've traveled fairly regularly to Central America and got to know a number of indigenous people, particularly the elders of the Maya Indian nation, because it is a nation, particularly in Guatemala. And my teacher is Don Alejandro, Wandering Wolf. I spent many days with him, and he's a wonderful example. You can see him and what his message is about the land and the spirit of nature for the future. If you look at the Shift of Ages movie, I don't know if any of your Canadian contacts would have Shift of the Ages. Anyway, it's on the internet.
No, I'm not familiar with that movie, Shift of the Ages. No.
Yes. Because there was a lot of hype at the 21st of December winter solstice of 2012, because it was the end of a 5,125-year period of time, which is called a long count of time. And it came to the end of this period of time, and of course Westerners get hold of some of these ideas, and they get all hyped up about it and excited, and something's going to happen, and the moon's going to drop out of the sky, and all that rubbish. And it never did. And the 21st of December 2012 has long since gone, of course, and people said, there you are, it was all a blah, blah, blah. But it was not. The change is happening. The shift of the ages is happening. It takes time to unravel. But it is all, I can assure you, all your listeners, that there's a big change taking place in human consciousness. And it started rolling from December 2012, particularly.
Exactly.
But it's been going on since 1987 to another period of preparation time. You see, the Maya elders, they carry a tradition with them. They were great astronomers and they have a wonderful system of contact with the Earth. It's another calendar of theirs. They have about 20 calendars of time, by the way. And the one that's connecting all of nature and the universe to humans is called the Tzolkin calendar, Tzolkin.
I'm very familiar with it, yes.
Don Alejandro has taught me a lot how to interpret that and how to use it, and I still use it as a model for my own personal living, because it connects me with the land, and it connects me with people, and it connects me with creation. I see a creator, yes, a creator, creatrix, one first father and one first mother created life. But I don't see it as God in the sense that religions view God as being a white-haired old man in the sky. But there is a creation story to the Maya, and it's a very beautiful, wealthy story to understand and to begin to evolve into. It doesn't mean you have to be Maya. You'll be Canadian, you'll be English, you'll be who you are. But there's a lot to learn from practically all the indigenous leaders of the world.
Oh, most definitely. I'm trying to get them to come on my show too, and I find her quite apprehensive. They're not comfortable speaking, maybe because I'm not myself an indigenous person, but they're not comfortable speaking on the radio. I'm not absolutely certain why, but I have a few theories. But no, I'm really having a hard time getting indigenous people to come on. And can you give me any hints as to why that might be happening?
I think it's because they're reasoning, they're thinking, they have to sense into it very carefully and answer questions, yes, but actually to speak at the rate and the pace that I am, for example, speaking now, is quite alien to them. They pause, and there's silence, and a radio show doesn't generate that kind of energy for them that they can talk comfortably, because they're only talking into a microphone, they're not talking to people. And again, I've sat in circle with indigenous elders and held the feather, the talking stick, when it's my turn to talk. There's a discipline about speaking and sharing, which is very different to the Western culture.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think I just need to take the time to get to know them, and that would be a better avenue to go, as opposed to hitting them with the question, will you come on my show? But just get to know them and try to connect with them. That might be it might take me 6 months to get somebody on, but I'm still trying to, because I want to get some of this ancient wisdom out there, because I mean, they knew how to live in harmony with the planet.
Yes, absolutely, and still do.
Yes, I know, and I mean, there's been a lot of corruption of First Nation people in Canada, and to be honest with you, Michael, I mean, it's sad. I mean, some of the stuff I've seen, but I find as you go further south, things come together a bit better, and there's quite a range of First Nations people. There's 633 different groups still in Canada. Some of them have become very westernized. Some of them have hung on to their traditions much more closely, so you can't generalize. But no, but the ones that have gone western, I mean, to me, it's a sad thing.
It is.
Yeah, because their way of life was so superior. These people, they're eating the same crap that the average Westerner is, buying stuff at the grocery store, and if anything, they're eating worse. They eat processed everything. I've been in there. Yeah. I've been on the reserves, and I've seen what they're selling, and it's just, there's nothing real there, man. Nothing. They're all, a lot of them are sick, and no, it's not a pretty picture, but it's great that there are people like the group that you connected with. And tell me a bit more about, I'm not familiar with this calendar that connects humanity to the universe.
The Tzolk'in? Oh my goodness, you have a lot to learn, Brian.
Oh, that's why I have a show, so I can learn from people who are smarter than me.
That's actually where my name comes from. This blue monkey is actually because I'm.
I did wonder.
Yeah, blue spectrum monkey, the same as Jose Arguelles, actually. I'm a blue spectrum monkey, and there was a guy who had all the cool websites and email addresses, so I decided to designate myself as this blue monkey and not that one. But yeah, I've been very interested in the Tzolk'in for a while. Actually, my first guest on my show on this network, this version of my show, which is on Thursday nights, it was Rohan Soler. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he actually... he's a scientist who utilizes the Tzolk'in and basically has proved it to be accurate and true and effective and helps him make life decisions. And, he does it. He runs the tests. It's very amazing. So I will tell you more about it, Brian, on our off time. But that is fabulous. I'm thrilled that you're involved in knowing about the Tzolk'in. It makes perfect sense. So.
Now, Angela, you know why I'm 9 Jaguar then.
Ah, yeah, there you go. 9 Jaguar, there you go. Right on. We'll have to do Brian's galactic signature.
So you both derived your name from using this calendar?
I certainly did.
I did.
Yeah.
You both did?
Yes.
So you were assigned a different name. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
I think that's
it has
awesome.
to do with kin. It has to do with your kin basically, and it has to do with the pulse of the universe. Really, it's an amazing calendar, and it truly is. You were talking about the harmonic convergence. I believe that was in 87.
87, yes.
Yeah, in August, I believe. And then so the two main dates, crux dates of change were definitely in 1987 and then again in 2012, at the end of 2012 there in the Gregorian count, of course. So, yeah, and I remember when, we all woke up on December 22nd and said, oh, we're still here, because, of course, they were speculating that it was the end of everything, and indeed it wasn't. It was the end of that time. It was why we are now experiencing. We're coming out of that darkness. We are finally awakening, and it's been happening. More frequently and at a faster rate than in a long time. Even to the point where we could refer to the 5,000 years of galactic night. Or was that, I'm sorry, I take that back, was that the 25,000 years of galactic night? So it should be very interesting to watch the human, journey, and if we don't destroy ourselves, then maybe we can...
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what does this calendar have the predictive ability to say if we are gonna survive as a species on this planet? What would it say about that, or is it more individually based?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm gonna let Michael field that one.
Well, I mean, maybe nobody knows the answer. It just came to my mind. I mean, there's all sorts of people trying to predict the future.
We have to avoid prediction like that because it would forecast either hope or doom and gloom for people, and they're always looking to prove it with their left brains. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it working right? And is this wrong? And so on and so forth, rather than just being. We call ourselves human doings, don't we, really? Because we're always doing. We're really human beings. Mm-hmm. Let's be. And let's study and be with the stars, be with the trees, be with the land, be with the animals. It's about being, not doing all the time. This is our great mistake. So we don't listen to nature. We don't know how trees communicate with each other, for example. We're just not aware because we're going down a blinkered avenue of we're human, therefore we are. And we'll do what we do without respect.
Well, I mean, the natural wisdom has definitely been lost. I mean, it used to guide us. We used to see, like you say, children used to see nature spirits, and I understand that it's still quite prominent at places like Findhorn. They're actually a big part of the agriculture, and that they are very nurturing to the plants, and explains why the food there is so powerful. And, we used to see energy between people, within the forest, around the plants. According to most Aboriginal thinking, every plant, everything alive has a soul. Is that your understanding, Michael?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So it's sort of amazing. I mean that, and there's an intelligence within all things.
Yeah, not just the quote-unquote term alive. Rocks, mountains have soul. The earth itself is living. The everything on there. A rock to me is alive and does have a soul. I don't like to consider a rock or a mountain an inanimate object. There is a soul, inside, and there's more wisdom in that little, in the little pinky of that rock. So yes, agreed with the quote-unquote living things. But then again, with the inanimate objects, there are also souls within, and wisdom within those entities and beings. I think personally.
Yes, I would agree with that. I would very definitely agree.
That's I haven't quite gone that far yet, but I mean it's certainly possible. I don't. It's certainly a heck of a lot better philosophy than the one we're using now. So I'm not gonna criticize it, because it's the way we used to live, and we were in pretty much perfect harmony with nature. I'm not sure we were in perfect harmony with each other. I think there were issues with ego, and there were wars back then, and their technology wasn't as sophisticated, so they couldn't develop the weapon systems that we unfortunately can today. So I think there were improvements that could be made to those systems, but heck, I mean, we've definitely got to try to get back to loving nature, feeling it. I was brought up in a less than ideal family, like a lot of people are nowadays, because we've become so materialistic. I didn't have the fortune of Michael living on organic food. I didn't figure that out till I was like 20. I mean, I used to live on powdered milk and powdered juice and white bread, and I mean every winter I just about died because I was so low in vitamin C. So, no, but I spent a lot of time in the woods, and I to this day, I believe it saved my life, being in nature. I mean, it's such a powerful force, a restorative force, a healing force. And I'm sure, I don't know, Michael, I'm sure we'll go along with that view.
Yes, it is. Yes. But let's take an opportunity to go back in a trace of real history. Because much of this began with classical Greek times. The perception of the philosophers in classical Greek times took man's thinking, human thinking, down a certain direction that we have command over all of nature. And then the religious fathers of the Middle Ages sort of transferred this into spiritual teachings that appeared in Bibles and so on and so forth, but it has no real foundation because it wasn't written at the time that Jesus, assuming you believe in Jesus, assuming that it was written at that time. Well, it wasn't. But what has occurred is a whole mindset where the word economy, which is a Greek word actually, which means to manage the household. Now, in my humble opinion, managing the household means the whole house. It doesn't mean money. It means our house, and our house is the earth. So the economy of the earth has a very different meaning in the original intention of the word economy to the way people see the word economy now, which is all about money, which is artificial.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Yeah, we worship the money god to our peril.
If we go beyond, if we go even deeper into history, you mentioned the 25,000 years of
galactic night.
Time, galactic cycle of time. It's actually 25,920 years, according to Greek philosophers.
Okay.
Who, it's known as a Platonic year from Plato. Now, if you take that, if you assume that this is the age, as many people do, that this is the age of Aquarius, if you calculate carefully through the greater cycles of time of 25,920 years, and multiply that back very carefully to the time that Homo sapiens first emerged, which was 233,000 years ago. Mass will mean us a few years.
Oh, I think we'll have to pick this up after the break, Michael. I think
okay.
Hear the music.
Okay, hear the music. See you later.
We'll be right back, everyone.
5 minutes. Thanks so much.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Angela Black, luckily producing for Brian Porter of I Am Nature, and that is the name of the show. Going to be here every Wednesday from 6 to 8 Eastern, and that translates into, let's see, 3 to 5 Pacific on Studio B. And in a moment, we'll ask Michael what the manipulation of time is over in Spain. And why I am talking right now is I wanted to give the, the little biz that we do here for Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, everyone. Freedomslips.com, the #1 100% listener-supported radio station in the world. And the way that you are listening is because of donations from wonderful people like you. So please do find yourself on the side of the chat at freedomslips.com. It says donate. You can click there and find many ways to be a part of this cause and end up with wonderful prizes as well. Michael Baker is the guest of Brian Porter, but I wanted to tell you all that one of the amazing things, which I thought Michael would be interested in, is that if you have a donation, there's 3 different levels for Revolution Radio. Nighthawk himself, the owner of the station, has compiled 35,000 seeds and basically 54 different varieties of non-GMO, non-hybrid seeds for you to basically grow your own food. And so I highly recommend it. I indeed got the seed pack last year and grew some things out of my terracotta pots because up here we have rock and sand for our soil. So I did my best, and I'm going to improve this year and grow more tomatoes, more vegetables, etc. It was quite a rewarding experience, as I used to do that when I lived in Southern California out of terracotta pots as well. But I just wanted to let you know, yes, you can get the seed packs by donating, and you can also subscribe to the archives, get the new 2014 archive DVD that is available for your listening pleasure in case you missed some of your favorite shows over the past year. And I think that's about it. Once again, this is Studio B, and you are listening to the one, the only I Am Nature host, which is Brian Porter. And welcome back, Brian.
Thanks, Angela. That was a great intro and a great plug for the station. And
thanks.
People have to support this station. We are putting out some of the best programming in the world. People are being informed. Unfortunately, we can't trust the mainstream media right now. I'm hoping that will change. Right now, there's more people listening to alternative media than mainstream, and that's an excellent sign that maybe some of the things we've been talking about in terms of a mass change in consciousness is actually occurring. And well, it must be occurring if more people are listening to alternative than mainstream. So, Michael, let's get back to, we were discussing before the break, you said Plato came up with some time frame or ages. Actually, it's very similar. I'm familiar with the Vedic system much more so than this Mayan calendar. It sounds to me like the time periods are almost perfectly in sync, which is quite amazing considering there are 2 different continents.
Mm. So I think Michael's back with us. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello from 1:37 a.m. in the morning, in the middle of the night in southern Spain. In answer
You're a
to
trooper,
your question,
Michael.
Angela. Yeah.
You're a trooper.
Yeah.
I so appreciate you being on.
Okay,
So late
I'm enjoying it. No, but anyway, taking back to your point, yes, there is a remarkable synchronicity across all these ancient traditions. It's surprising just how much they synchronize with each other. And I just wanted to add another speculative point, which perhaps any of your listeners would be interested in hearing about. That if one is to take the general benchmark that Homo sapiens began approximately 233,000 years ago. And I'm not saying that this is the only time that human beings have been on the planet either, because the planet is much older than that. But if you take that benchmark time of 233,000 years, más o menos, of you, and look to the present day, you find that this is the 9th time that the age of Aquarius is manifesting.
Wow.
Now, the age of Aquarius is the age of man, the age of human in the astrological charts. And the 9th time, the 9th month of the greater cycle of time. Now, that's the time of our pregnancy.
Wow.
The 9th time, the 9th month.
Wow. And you know, then, go ahead.
And then going back to the calendar, the Tzolk'in calendar that Angela and I have discussed a little about, that is based around a 260-day period of time, which is the length of period of time that we're normally used to be in our mother's womb.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. That's too cool.
So everything has rhythm to it, which has roots in very ancient understandings and traditions.
Mm-hmm.
Before science as we know it materialized. But there was a knowing about this and an understanding about it at a deeper level, which in those days, science and spirituality were much closer together than they are today.
Well,
philosophy, of course.
Yeah, no, I mean, they basically got wisdom from being connected to nature, and then there are certain people within the tribe or whatever way you want to designate the clan who were especially tuned to things like the time cycles and the people like this. Not everyone was an astrologer in the Mayan system. It was obviously something that was passed down through lineage, and it was not a simple system to learn. So you really had to start learning it when you were a child. Was this the case with your friend that you met in Mexico?
Well, answering your question another way.
Okay.
There are over 2,000 known ancient Maya sites throughout Central America. Over 2,000 known. And almost every one of them has an astronomical observatory. So obviously the study of the stars, not only the planets in the solar system, but also the stars, were of great importance in relating to nature and the universe.
Yes.
So that is why a traditional handing down of a Tzolk'in calendar, which relates human beings to all the natural cycles of time of the universe, both on Mother Earth and also in the sky above, meant so much to them to teach the succeeding generations.
Do you want to hear something interesting? So now the wizard is the same as the jaguar in the Mayan calendar, if I'm not mistaken. And you both are wizards. You both are the jaguar. I don't know if you know that, but it says the wizard is the jaguar, and that's the white wizard in the space station plaza thing, which came from Jose Arguelles. So I think you two are exact kin, by the way.
Well, there you go.
So I just thought I'd bring
Anyway, sorry, Brian. What was your question?
Oh, I had a great one coming, and then Angela came in there and knocked me off base here.
Sorry.
Let me just get back to.
We're all very excited, you see.
What was I going to ask you? Oh, men. Well, I think we'll go on to something else, and I'm sure it'll come back to me. Now, there's sort of some fragments I wanted to pick up on, because I thought you mentioned some things that I thought would be very interesting because they're local for us. You said there is something called the Holy Earth Foundation, and it is centered in the United States.
Yes.
Well, can you elaborate on that for us? Where is it, and how could it help people?
I don't know its address now, but they very much were involved in the teaching of conflict resolution at all levels, right up to government level where there was a need even for world leaders to have support, to find ways around problems of dialogue between different opinions about a political issue, about a religious issue, or whatever it is. There are very skilled workers around. There's an amazing book out on the subject, not by the Holy Earth Foundation, but it's called Sitting in the Fire, which is about really understanding conflict and how to resolve it.
Beautiful. So this is the kind of thing that people that are setting up the community might want to check out, and probably be full of very good ideas.
Oh, yes, yes.
Well, excellent.
And visit other communities and see how they work before making decisions yourself in the start-up of a community. See how others are doing it and learn from it. Well, otherwise, you're reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many good... I mean, I was so happy when I found out about Jen. I thought, holy cow, I mean, there's so many people out there doing this. It's just, I mean, nobody knows this in North America. I haven't met anyone who even heard of Jen in North America. So this is such a great revelation. And I really thank Raul Alvarez for turning me on to all these great organizations and people like you. I mean, he was the guidepost for me. He sent me in the right direction. And I keep telling him how much I appreciate it. Now, I remember my question. Okay?
Go for
it. This gets back to the whole notion of why all the Aboriginal people, or a lot of them, were focused a lot on the heavens and the stars, because they believe that that's where they came from. Is that not right,
yes.
Michael?
Well, yes. Before you think I'm too freaky and wacky way out, can I share something with you on that I've actually been shown landing sites.
Have you ever seen, they call them family. Have you ever seen family members from other stars coming to visit Aboriginal people in the flesh?
No.
No, okay.
Not directly. But there's information, for example, if you go down to Honduras, on the borders of Honduras and Guatemala, it's just on the Guatemalan side, is an ancient Maya site called Quirigua, Q-U-I-R-I-G-U-A. Quirigua has what are called to archaeologists zoomorphs, Z-O-O-M-O-R-P-H, zoomorph. There are 5, is it, or 6? And they have star maps on the back of their shells because they're giant shell-like creatures. You see, there's a whole story with this because
Good.
The tortoise, you see, it's the turtle actually, not the tortoise. To the indigenous peoples of the Americas, it's not the American continent. No. It's Turtle Island.
You got it. Yeah.
Right? And if you go down to Honduras, to go Copan in Honduras or zoomorphs in Quirigua, you see the turtles there. But the ones at Quirigua have actually got star maps on their backs. And even archaeologists will acknowledge that.
The living turtles?
No, they're not living. No, they're stone.
Oh, okay.
They're about 4 meters long. 4 meters long. Giant turtles, stone turtles.
Oh, beautiful.
And they have, some of them have an animal face, like a jaguar face, although it's a shell of a turtle. And out of the mouth of the jaguar is emerging a human with a beard. Now, no Maya people have beards. So it just puts another question, another layer of, what's this? Hey, what are we learning here? You know, there's so many layers to peel back, to understand from indigenous wisdom and keepers of the wisdom. And it was Don Alejandro who told me about the star maps on the back of these turtles.
Wow.
And I've seen them physically.
No, I don't doubt that they exist, and I don't doubt that they're connected to the cosmos. I mean, it really is, it's a beautiful story, and I personally think it's real. I don't doubt that, that there are, lots of other human civilizations in this universe. If not, I've heard estimates as many as 100,000 in our galaxy, and that they get around, whether on a ship or whether using their mind, or we understand so little about our potential, our abilities, and because we've left the garden. And I have no doubt that they are being contacted to this day. I mean, the Hopi Indians swear that they see they call them family from other stars almost every day.
Well, on Turtle Island, of course, you've got the lands of the eagle, which is where you are in the northern parts, and there's in the southern parts is the land of the condor, and in the middle is the land of the quetzal. That's where Don Alejandro Wandering Wolf comes from. He is the mediator, the carrier of the staff of authority to constantly reunite together the lands of the condor and the lands of the eagle. And they're very strong in their wisdom to convey to all the other people of the Americas to understand it right now.
Now, within the Mayan tradition, is there a rainbow warrior kind of idea? Are you familiar with the Rainbow Warrior concept?
Yes. Well, the rainbow feathered serpent, yeah. I mean, it's part of the creation story. I mean, that's even where the word hurricane comes from, the hurricane. Hurricane. The Khan part is the snake, the serpent. It emerges in all kinds of ways. But yeah.
Yeah, well, the story I'm thinking of is more of a future prediction that the Rainbow Warriors are coming from the land of the Great Spirit, and they are going to come here and they're going to fix this place.
This is why you must have Alberto Ruz, because he is a rainbow carrier.
And sorry, can you clarify, what does that mean?
Alberto Ruz is a peace pipe carrier of the Rainbow Nation.
Ah. Well, you've definitely got to hook me up with this guy. That sounds absolutely fascinating. And Michael, you're more than willing to come back on and be with him. I mean, it might help get him on because he knows you.
Might do. Yeah, might do. Hey, listen, Brian, before we go, I know we've been talking about community earlier on, and we've gone down deeply into, quite rightly so, the connection with nature, wisdom, and the indigenous peoples and how they've got so much to teach us. I fully, totally commit myself to that. But in the focus of community, I would like to mention the transition town networks. I don't know how many people, listeners to your radio stations, are aware of transition towns, but they're
excellent organization.
They're very active in Europe and in the UK. And you see, that's another form of community, and it's a way in which seed banks can provide local non-GMO seeds, skill sharing, and sharing research, local currency, benefits of local currency rather than a national currency like the Totnes pound in the UK or the Brixton pound. These are all ways in which people share, and they're kind of communities in a different way. They're not all living together as people living under the same house or even group of houses, but they're sharing common ideals to move ahead in social reorganization as a community in a village. They don't all have to be village members or they don't have to have a town council agree to it. They're independently working as a community, cooperating together for a post-oil age, because that's what it arose out of mostly originally. How we look beyond our resources where we're constantly using hydrocarbon fuels. Anyway, sorry, Brian.
No, it's kind of funny that you brought that up because Raul mentioned that to me too, and I said, well, I used to go to these transition they used to call it just transition in Ottawa, and I was so fascinated with the people there, and we all got along like a house on fire. It was great, and I had no idea though that this was part of a larger organization that was, I didn't know it was worldwide. I mean, I thought there may be a few other ones, but it's fascinating to, and they're doing actually a seminar up in Ottawa. Ralph sent me a meetup on it. And, yeah, it's all about, you know, I think the main focus of this one is alternative currencies, because I think that this is going to be a very important thing to explore. Actually, I got an article from a friend who's part of a direct democracy movement, and his name's Paul Chauffin. And he said that actually a town called Aurelia, during the Depression, developed their own alternative currency. And they used it as a way to feed people. You know, so people didn't starve in their part of the world. And I thought, wow, that's a great, you know, we've had them. I mean, they've come and gone in Canada. So, yeah, no, these ideas have been around, and but we need to look at them much more carefully, because we've got to get the private bankers out of our lives. I mean, they've stolen our energy.
And for some of us who don't want to support the war machine, then it's a way of exchanging our energy with money that doesn't support the arms industry.
Yeah, and the drug trade and all those wonderful things that they're involved in.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, well, I think I better say something to wind things up, because I think in any minute now, we don't get a lot of warning when that
I know, it goes so quickly, doesn't it?
No, it does. But I really want to thank you, and like I say, once you connect me with this your friend there in Mexico, I'm definitely want to follow up on this issue. And yeah, I'm very fascinated by the idea that there's a family of humans outside of this outside of Earth. I'd like to explore that topic. This calendar, what's it called again?
The Tolkien.
The Tolkien calendar.
The Tolkien,
T-Z-O-L-K-I-N. Tolkien.
Okay, no, Tolkien.
You have to kind of spit the into your palm of your hand as you pronounce it.
No, practice. I mean, it sounds so identical to Vedic charting and Yotish. I cannot believe it. I mean, it's just, it's bringing all sorts of things together, and it's beautiful, because I believe that when we think, we're not using our minds. What we're actually doing is we're making an energetic connection to places in the universal mind, and that's what we're
doing on this radio show now.
Well, everything is yes. It's beautiful, man. We're connecting. We're in the same energy, and it's a beautiful thing to be with people who share the energy that you share.
It's been a pleasure to be on it too, Brian. It's been a pleasure to contribute.
Okay, well, thanks so much. And thanks a lot, Andrea, too.
It's actually Angela, and you're very welcome.
Angela, sorry.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for letting me be a part, and nice to meet you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, you take care, all. Love y'all.
Thank you for listening to Revolution.